Welcome, everyone, to episode 8, Sovereign AF Podcast. I'm your host, Regina Cornelio. So excited to be back, and I'm so excited for my guests tonight, Corey and Lorina, Little Rogue Farm. We are going to start off talking about raising livestock for food and bringing sovereignty to your family. My guests are city slickers turned farmers, also here in Idaho. And they raise all types of animals for food, and they also have plenty of other animals that not for food, and they have a store, and they have treats for humans and pets, and they raw feed, and they have classes, and they are killing it. I mean, I'm going to let them tell everything that they do. It's too much to even intro with that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here with me.
No, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of dive in. So can you tell me, give me a little background on you guys, like what brought you to Idaho and what made you want to get into having a farm and all the things?
Well, we came to Idaho 9 years ago.
Yeah, 2015. Yeah, eight
14. I think it was 2014.
9 years ago. 9 years.
And anyways, we were driving to Salt Lake City, and we stayed in the Boise area. And I was like, wow, this place is kind of nice. Like, I kind of like it, kind of thing. I had never been to Idaho, and I lived in Washington. So it was like, there's no reason to come to Idaho, and anyways, we were deciding to move. I did not want to be in Washington anymore. Both of us are originally from Washington. We left Washington. We came back to Washington a few years later, and I was like, I don't want to stay here very long. And we wanted to move somewhere else. And we originally wanted to move back to the Medford area of Oregon because we really loved it when we lived there. And I just kept thinking, like, maybe we should think about Idaho, because we had driven through it and liked it. And so Corey was working at the time in California.
I was in LA. So
yep.
Far.
And I literally asked him, hey, can you check your work? And how far do you have to be from an airport? Because he traveled everywhere. And he only needed to be 45 minutes to an airport, and he can live wherever the hell he wanted to live. And so instead of him going and looking in places in Medford for us to move, I sent him here to Idaho right after the worst
ice storm
they ever had.
Wow.
And so he came here and he looked at a whole bunch of different places. We found a place, we got the place, and within a month and a half, we moved here. That's how fast we moved.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow.
We were here not knowing if this was going to be the place that we would stay and live. Mm-hmm. And we just fell in love with it. Just literally fell in love with Idaho. Then when all shit hit, when the world went cuckoo, we moved, we wanted a homestead. Yeah. We wanted not a homestead. We wanted some land. That's what we originally wanted, was some land. We breed, we're natural rearing breeders. So that means we don't juice up our animals. We don't give them any kind of chemicals, nothing like that. And we don't do that to the puppies either. And
that was really our ambition. We wanted some land to raise our dogs. I mean, that was what we were after. It was even if it's an acre or acre and a half, just somewhere they had a backyard to run around in, and no regulations, because we didn't want to deal with that either.
Yeah, so we couldn't find a place because in the Treasure Valley area, it's really hard. Everything has HOAs, they have CCNRs, and again, that's all government control. Right. It's all the strong arming people of do what I say, you can't do this kind of thing. And so we decided to find another place, and we found our farm in the little town of Albion in Idaho. Our population is 300. There's nothing here, but it's beautiful. It's just beautiful where we live. And we got 5.5 acres, and we just had some chickens and some dogs. That's what that was going to be it.
That was the plan.
That was it. And
we got here, and what do you think about getting some pigs? I don't know. Why not? Let's try it. I want some cows. What do you think about cows? I don't know. Let's try it. How hard can it be?
Yeah.
So here we are, and that's what
Chickens.
yeah, more chickens and
Yeah.
pigs and all the stuff that we ended up breeding pigs. And so
And a donkey and now a goose.
Your goose is my favorite. What's her name?
Salty.
She is my favorite.
She is my favorite. She
I love her.
Is just badass, and she has all kinds of attitude, and she loves me dearly. Like loves me dearly, and sits at my door, knocks at my door, wants me
so
to
cute
with her.
She makes me want a duck. I want a duck now.
Yeah, well, she's a goose. She's not a duck.
Goose.
Yeah.
I want a goose.
Yep. So anyways, that's kind of long story short, with years and things, compounding. We've been here in Idaho now for almost 7 years. So we've been living here for that long. So way before everybody and their mother moved to Idaho, and
like me.
A lot of people did. And I understand why people did, right? Don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't like people that moved here. I moved here, but I didn't move here for political reasons. I didn't move here for those kind of things. But because of that, and because of our beliefs here in our state, right? Our freedoms that we hold strong, I understand why people come here. Unfortunately, there are people that come here thinking they have those same beliefs. Unfortunately, they need to go through a whole cycle of letting go of government, right? Because all of us, we're all like, think a certain way. Like, I remember the first time I saw a kid without a helmet, I was like, on that kid, but really,
because that's what we're programmed.
We're programmed because we come from a liberal state, right? Not saying conservatives don't wear helmets, but there's not a law here in Idaho for the freaking, like you don't have to wear a helmet, kind of thing. But it's just that's what I mean by programming. We all have to kind of get over it.
We have a couple questions in the chat already, but yes, there was a lot I had to get used to when moving to Idaho, and I visited for a weekend, September 2020, and that weekend I got a place, and then I went back to Vegas. I packed my stuff and I came back a month later. So in one weekend, I said, I'm moving here. That's it. So we have a lot in common. I love that. Yeah. So in the chat, someone wants to know, what breed of dogs do you do the natural rearing?
Okay, so we have 3 different breeds. We breed golden doodles. So we have 2 golden doodles that we breed. We breed a golden retriever and Great Danes. So, and then I do have a stud that is a poodle, a standard poodle. So we stud him out. But for the majority part, he kind of tends to his girls. When we use him, we don't use him all the time because he ended up being a little too tall. And so we only use him periodically.
Right.
Yep.
And so someone said, did you learn to take care of the animals on the fly, or did you ask other owners and research?
YouTube University.
Are you talking about natural rearing or just animals?
I think natural rearing.
Okay, so this goes back.
That's different.
That's completely different. We have a child that's vaccine injured, and so
we want to say juice injured.
Okay, whatever.
No, just so we don't get taken down. That's all.
Okay. So he was injured, and and anyways, that was 18 years ago. So I've been in this journey for a very long time. And with that, we learn like it's not just humans, it's animals too. And there's a lot that is involved. So we just started transitioning ourselves. And I was very fortunate to be mentored. I was able to mentor underneath a very prominent, holistic, homeopathic veterinarian in Washington State that kind of took me under his wing. And that's how I learned homeopathy.
Nice.
And so that's why I'm able to sell certain things online and help other people. And so that's when raw feeding came into place. That was herbs came into place. And then we just started even diving even down more the deep hole. And started learning more. So that's basically in a nutshell. We've been doing this for 18 years. And so I would definitely call myself an expert in this area. And I know a lot about species appropriate diet and how to take care of our dogs. So I can just tell you this much. My oldest dog is 12 years old, and she's never been to a vet besides an x-ray to see how many puppies she had. And that's it. That is absolutely it. My other dogs have never been to a vet for healthcare, for issues, health issues, only if I need an x-ray to tell me how many puppies are in there. That's it.
I love that. Yeah, our cat Sage has only been to the vet when she swallowed a string.
Oh yeah.
And that was kind of scary. We couldn't, I didn't want to pull it because it could pull her digestive. And so that was a fun $3,000 vet bill.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, she's never had any juice at all. She'll probably jump up here in a second. She's hiding right next to me. So let's dive in. Let's talk about so you started off with chickens, and then what was after that? And
we've had chickens before, so I want to put a disclaimer on there, like we've had animals before, only dogs and laying hen chickens, meaning ones that lay eggs. And people are like, don't all chickens lay eggs? No, they don't. And so those are the only experience that we ever had with any form of I guess a farm style animal. And when things were getting really tough to get at the grocery store, or you know, like you just didn't know what was happening, I wanted to get a dairy cow. And I was like, I think we should get a dairy cow. So we got 2 dairy cows. And
no, we started with one.
We started with one. The next day we got her sister because she cried all night. So I ended up getting, so
it was sad.
It was. And he warned us. He was like, you should take both. I was like, just need one. And then that night, can I have now? So, you know, so that's what happened. So we got 2, and then they were both pregnant. So they both calved. And so we experienced that. We had to learn, and we're very fortunate. We live in where ranchers are. So, you know, we have a lot of ranchers around us. And so our neighbors actually kind of helped us through some of the process. But it's kind of like we just kind of learned, right? We just, Corey and I are really great at pivoting. We don't panic. We don't we're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do kind of thing.
And let me speak there real quick. So like with our ranches around here, like there's only 2 things that happen up in this valley where we live. They ranch cow, and they just grow grass, which they'll cut for their own usage to feed their cows or their horses. That's it.
That's it.
Nobody does anything else up here whatsoever. We are the anomaly and the talk of the town, literally, because we do so many different things.
I can only imagine, and you guys definitely are the talk of the town. Not a surprise.
Just ranchers up here.
It's just ranchers up here, and they're wonderful people, just wonderful, knowledgeable, hardworking people. Like you want to see hardworking Americans, you come into my area and you see hardworking freaking Americans, and they don't take shit from nobody. So you know, like that's what ranchers are. So, anyways, we decided we wanted to fill our. Then we started thinking of other things. Oh, we got pigs.
Yes.
So I had a mentor over line. She knew we were getting a ranch, and I was asking some basic questions, and she was moving from Idaho to Missouri. And she is a farmer that does not juice any of her animals either. Okay. So she shared with me that she had some piglets, and if I wanted to raise one for myself to butcher. And I thought, let me put it out there for my followers, right? My friends around me. Does anybody want this? I can raise them, and then you can buy it, right? And I did that, and I instantly sold out. Like, sure, I'll take one. Yeah, I'll take one. I'll take one. And so we did 5.
And this is no experience. We didn't even have a pen set up or nothing. This was straight up arbitrage at its finest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had to learn quickly. We had to learn how to put a T-post into the ground. We had to learn a lot of things, right? A lot, like getting water. Water is like the worst thing because you got to drag hose everywhere. Okay, so I say these things because people say, I want a homestead, I want a farm, I want these kind of things, but they don't realize all the chores and the duties that come with it.
Like we get into a routine and then we have everything already done. It's all calculated out. So it's not a big deal. But when you first start, your head is on a swivel and you don't know which direction you're going trying to keep up. And that was about our first year.
Yeah. So anyways, we got pigs, we raised them out. And then we sold them and we kept one. Well, we kept two. We bought another one. We kept two and we got a boar from another person that doesn't juice as well. Because all I wanted to make sure is that nothing was contaminating my animals and nothing was contaminating my breeding animals. So I was very thorough on who I was getting my animals from. And so that started kind of down the rabbit hole of us, we'll just do pigs.
Yeah.
And then the next year I was like,
over the winter time. So we raw feed our dogs. We have to buy chicken to raw feed our dogs. We were like, what if we grow our own chicken? We have all this land. We can grow our own chicken. Why are we buying it? We can grow our own and feed that to the dogs. Of course, what does she do? Does anybody want to buy some chickens next year? I might have some chickens for sale.
Yeah.
So we ended up scrapping the idea of growing chickens for our dogs and we grew them for profits.
Yeah.
And for ourselves.
And we had never butchered a chicken in our life, like ever. And we butchered 600 chickens the very first year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how would you recommend someone get started? It's chickens. I mean, I always thought chickens is like step one. Is that step one?
No. Okay. I'll tell you the very first thing that we didn't do that I think everybody should do. Get land, do nothing, learn your land. Like learn it through all your seasons. Like understand what's growing, what's not growing, what's happening on your land. What does winter look like? What does spring look like? What does summer look like? Even though if it changes a little bit, just get to know your land first before you bring on an animal. Yes, you could bring chickens. They're pretty easy, but at the same time, you don't know what the winter looks like where you live if you've never lived there before, right? And so that would be my very first thing I would tell somebody.
Correct.
But I'm not that kind of person. So I'm like, I want it all right now. And
I feel like that's kind of me too.
Well, in battling through the wintertime, that's the most difficult when you're trying to keep livestock alive. And it's like digits with 34-mile-an-hour
like
winds.
last winter in Idaho.
Yeah.
Last winter here it wasn't
the
as
year
cold.
Before then.
It wasn't as cold. We got cold, but it wasn't as cold as the year before.
Yeah, I don't know what part of Idaho, like, are you in the mountains of Idaho?
I'm in southeast, so I'm by Idaho Falls.
Oh, okay.
How far?
So you're colder than us.
Yes.
How far is that from you?
That's 2 hours away. So we're not too far away from you. So we're up in the mountains of Idaho. Like we're at like 5,000 elevation. So I don't know how high you are, but I do know you get way more snow and longer winters than we do.
More snow, more wind, and it's colder.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it comes right off that big mountain area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last winter was the worst winter I've seen in my whole life. And I grew up in the Northeast, which has pretty bad winters. I mean, it was bad.
Well, Chad Christensen lives by you. He posts all the time what's going on in his area. So I know you got hammered.
I don't know if you know who Chad Christensen is. He used to be
that name is familiar. Okay. So that's why I know it.
Yeah. So anyways, first animal, once you do that, first animal, laying chickens and get as many as you want because chicken math is real. I'm going to tell you, like, you think you want 5, no, you want 10. We have like 60. So we have 60 hens and we have 3 roosters.
Yes,
we have 3 roosters. And so that's what we have. And we'll always add more every year just because some do die, some just, disappear. I mean, it just happens. My chicken's free range. So we don't keep them cooped up all the time. They roam my whole farm. And but that's how we roll with our livestock.
I have a question for you. What do you feed your chickens?
Okay, so we don't buy food from like a tractor supply store. We don't feed. We feed a non-GMO mix, and then we add to it. and we get it from a local mill. So I find it's very important that you find a local mill that sources local products where you live, because it makes a big difference. And then we ferment our food, and we add certain other products into it, like kelp and apple cider vinegar into it, and
oyster shells.
Well, we don't put it into our feed. Most of the time we put it on the ground for them.
Yeah.
But we don't have to do it that often, like oyster shells, because they do free range. So they get a lot of gravel throughout our property.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's mainly their food. And then, so we feed them every day. And, but we do give them a lot of scraps, and I supplement by making them treats of some sort. Yeah.
They sound spoiled. Your chickens, probably all of your animals are.
All of our animals are pretty spoiled. I mean, they only have one bad day in their life on our farm, and that's the day that they die. The rest of the time they are loved the whole time.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can tell the difference when, I don't know if you guys believe this, but I believe when you're eating an animal, you're consuming their energy body too. So how they live their life, how they were killed, all of that, you're absorbing that. So if they had a life full of joy and they were humanely, butchered, you can tell that it's different in the meat.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Well, so meat chickens are different than laying hens. So that's what we did Cornish cross. And so that's the meat chicken breed that we raise and butcher. It only takes 8 weeks from the time that we have it until the time we butcher. And so we have tractors that we pull around. They're pasture raised. They are fed a feed that we ferment as well. They don't get much scraps because they're messy. They're different than a laying hen, but they do. I mean, I wish I could turn my camera right now, because in our front pasture, it was just shit. Like literally, it was not taken care of. And this year we ran our tractors on air for our meat birds, and our pasture is like green. That's how important it is to have livestock on your land, and to rotate them around, and to heal your land and nourish your land. It's a full cycle, and we take advantage of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't just like, we'll just have some birds, we kill it and call it good and keep them in a corner. We're actually working our land. They're working our land for us.
That's called regenerative farming. We're not like these high-end people who like live by that word, but that's generally what it is that you're utilizing the nitrogen from the animals to help fertilize your land. And that's what's most important. And so not only did our back pasture get it last year, now our front pasture got it this year, and we'll do it again next year out in the front area. And then maybe the year after that, we'll move back to the back.
Yeah. So awesome. Even our pigs are pasture raised, so we move them around. They have hot fence around them. So with our tractors, when we have them out, we have the chickens, we have hot fence around that. So that holds back, like, if coyote or something comes in,
it deters predators.
Yeah, they'll get shocked if they hit the fence.
Because that was a question someone asked. Aren't you afraid of wild animals hurting your free range animals? So you're basically answering.
We're very fortunate up here that because of all the cattle, it really keeps the coyotes away from coming into the homestead areas here.
We've seen it on our property before.
They come, but not the rate that you would think.
Once we got our donkey, once we got more cows on our land, once we got our goose, our dogs deter. Now we had 8 dogs with us. My daughter just moved, so she took 2 dogs with her. So I have 6 dogs that are roaming. Nothing's coming on my land because of that, even though they're not roaming where the livestock is, because my dogs do hunt, and so they would hunt the chickens, but not that they're hunting dogs, but it's in their breed. And so they bark a lot, and so coyotes don't. Even deers around us don't come on our land. You'll see them only on lands that they don't have animals really on them.
Mm-hmm. And another question someone asked, how much help do you have help on your farm, or is it you guys and your son? And
That's it.
We got it down to a good system. I mean, honestly, like
we get up, sometimes we get up and we head out to the farm at 7:30 in the morning.
I mean, sometimes it takes us an hour to do all of our chores. Sometimes it takes 15 minutes, depending on the day, depending on what the needs are for the feed and what's going on. I mean, the longest I would be out there, even with you helping me, would be 2 hours. And that's like, we're doing a lot.
Yeah, it's probably because there's a project we have to do, or we have to fix fence, or we're moving livestock from one area to the other. But once you have your system down, I mean, it's basically feed my boar, because he's the first thing that we see out our door. Okay, because he doesn't stay with the sow right now because she just had babies. So they get separated. And so we feed him, we feed the cats because we have barn cats, and then we make sure they have water, right? Then we grab some hay, put it in the side by side. We head out to the back pasture and we feed our cows and our donkey. And then we go and we check on our feeder pigs, see how they're doing, see if they need water, see how their feed's doing. Typically, we don't have to put feed in for every 2 days. And so, so we always know that's not a day we're gonna have to feed them, but we always check water. Like, water is super important. Just making sure all the water containers are filled, right? They're not getting too low, because animals will bust up things. They'll destroy stuff. So you got to make sure you're on top of that. Then we go over to our sow who just had 10 piglets. So we go and we feed her, we check on her. Then we head back out of that pasture. We go to the front, to the side pasture. We check on we let our chickens all out, because they go up, they're cooped up at night. And so we have 2 coops, and then we have a run in the middle. So that's all enclosed with a gate. They put themselves to bed, except my goose. She stays outside until we go to shut the gate, and then she goes inside the run.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we close that. I mean, then we let them out. We make sure they have water and feed. And then my son comes out later and he does the cow water and he collects the eggs, later on during the day. And so that's basically our routine. I mean, that's our routine.
It doesn't sound like too much. It sounds like once you get in a routine, you can do it pretty quickly, but then, there's certain seasons where you're butchering the chickens and that's where it takes the more effort is.
Yep. When you're moving cattle, when you're moving pigs, when you got to move them to another section, you have to have patience. Shit happens. They get out. I mean, they just get out. They get out of your own fence. My steer loves to go to the other pastures and then cries to come back. Like it just happens. Fence breaks, I just had one of my cows just got pregnant, and she's a heifer. She's pregnant now. And 2 bulls jumped our fence and then came over. And I'm like, no, none of my cows are, in heat. And this old rancher that lives down the way, it was his bulls, his heifer bulls. And he was like, nope, somebody's in heat around here. And I swore it wasn't. And we just found out, she's pregnant now. That's how fast it is. And I'm like, hey, great. Freebie.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
So, because typically we AI our cows. That's how.
What does that mean?
Someone comes in and artificially
insemination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because we don't have a bull. We do have a boar, and a boar pregnates our sow. But the one we had it when shit hits the fan on a farm. And then sometimes you have to put animals down. There's just things you have to do. And we had to go through putting 2 of our sows down within like a month from each other. One of them injured itself. We have no idea. But a 800-pound pig, you are not like recovering it, right? And so we had to call her and then bury her in our back pasture. So just so you know, all farms are a graveyard for livestock. They don't take your animal away. They put it back into the land to nourish the land. And that's what you should do,
Yeah. That's something I would definitely have to get used to, because when I see cows and pigs, and I'm a meat eater. I lean more towards carnivore than any other diet, in all honesty. But I get all my meat from the local farms here. When I see cows and pigs, and because I'm from the city and I'm driving down the street and I see horses and cows, I'm like, hi, little babies.
Yeah.
And as we're driving and my boyfriend's like rolls his eyes, he's like, come on. But I can imagine myself getting attached to them. Like, even though I'm raising them with a purpose, and thinking in the future, I can imagine that's going to be something for me to get used to is animals die, just like all
Hard.
animals.
It's a hard fact. I mean, you start growing a thicker skin when you're on a farm, just because a lot more animals do die, right? Or you have to help a neighbor with something or whatever that might be. I'm very fortunate. I've had great neighbors that have helped us in times of needs, that because we didn't know how to do certain things. We had a cow that died in this last winter, and that shook me because she was my first cow. She was just a love, like, it's like Salty. She just loved everybody, and she bloated and died. And she didn't bloat. She had twisted stomach. And once that happens, it's like, you can't, it happens so fast. And she was just fine the day before, and the next morning she was gone. And so that was hard. The pigs, we blessed them, we thanked them. One of them had to get buried. The other one we took to butcher, and then she nourishes our family because of her living on our farm. Yeah. But butchering chickens is it's hard.
Really?
It's a labor work. And people don't realize how long it takes to butcher chicken and the process, our process of how we do it. And, we start on a Monday, let's say we're butchering 150 chickens, not in one day. It's taken us a whole week. We're breaking it up into like 40, 50 per day. Then you have to allow it to sit. And then you got to recheck them all and make sure they're all clean. And then you got to bag them. It's a very long process to do. And so when we see chickens at the store and when you taste a chicken from a store, it is nothing like a fresh chicken. Like it's night and day.
Yeah, I don't eat. I guess I've kind of turned into a little bit of a meat snob living here in Idaho. I can't buy grocery store meat, especially knowing now what they're putting into it and all the extra. I mean, who knows, what's true and what's not, but it just seems like they're adding more and more stuff, and I'm not comfortable with that at all.
Yeah, I mean, even organic, and I'm not going to sit here and bash on organic because I'm very much a believer of buying as natural, clean as possible. But labeling is just a joke. And the reason I know a lot of this is because we do resell. We don't use USDA butchers. Okay, so just so we can get that clear. That's a joke. And that's a major joke. And there's such gray areas in labeling. So I'll give you a prime example. When people talk about grass-fed, grass-finish, and you're buying it, at a grocery store.
If you look at those two steaks, grass finish and green finish, they will look almost identical. And there's no possible way that it should not be that way. It should not be true, because every time, if you ever see a farmer who does grass finish, there's almost no marbling. It's smaller, it's a deeper red, and when you cook and eat it, it is tough as shit. You can barely chew it, you can barely cut it.
Yeah.
And that's because the marbling's not there.
Yeah. And so with labeling, just so people understand this, when you're going to your grocery store and you decide to spend $25 a pound on that grass-fed, grass-finished, by law, with following the US, well, it's not law, following the guidelines of USDA guidelines, for grass-fed, grass-finished, it only has to be grass-fed for the last 10 days of its life. And then they can label it as grass finished. But the whole 90 days prior to that could have been all grains. No, it's just like antibiotic free, that's another joke. as long as it tests that it's not in its systems, they can put a label on it and say it's, antibiotic free. There's a lot
That's
of
crazy.
things. So like all chickens that they produce eggs for grocery stores, even your co-op, all those chickens have to be vaccinated. Oh, I'm not supposed to use that word, but
Juiced.
yeah,
Juice.
it has to be juiced, right? So this is why it's so important to go directly to your farmer, to build a relationship with a farmer, understand how they're raising. Does it fit your needs, your wants, your belief, and make that relationship with them? Pay them the money that they're asking, because they are the backbone of America. This is where you're going to get true food from.
And that's what I was going to say, was literally make relationships with your local farmers, and don't hesitate to ask them the tough questions. Like, we share that in our own group. We have an armor group or Home Life Armor. It's a paid group that we run, and we teach people literally, how do you find the producers? How do you find people are going to feed you correctly? Do not be afraid to ask them the tough questions. Are they juiced? What's your feeding schedule? What do you do with them on your land?
When
How
they
do you
get
rotate
sick,
them?
when they get sick, what are you doing? How are you taking care of them? What are you using when they get sick? Because once you get more than like 10 cattle, right? Somebody's going to get sick. It just happens sometimes.
Will they give you a tour of their farm?
Yeah.
That's the big question, because most of the time farmers are gonna be like, no. And that's an indication either they run a shitty organization, or they're not producing their own meat and they're selling other people's meat.
Yeah.
So that's another tricky one. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. I didn't want to lose that one.
Yep.
Because that's a huge one that a lot of people don't think of. Like, it's not that you're going to go actually tour. You want to tour it? Great, go tour it. But it's just a question to get them off their guard and kilter to see if they're being honest with you. But then also go shop other farmers. Just because you found like, oh, this beef is the best. You might find someone that's better. Who knows? But you got to try and not just get settled in on one person too. Spread the love around, because you'll be surprised how many people are doing great work.
Yep. It's just like my food. Like, I just bought from my favorite farmer, produce. She still had tomatoes. I had a garden. I still had stuff, but I need more, because I preserve so much food, because I don't like using the grocery store. I try very hard not to go to the grocery store and buy certain things that I can preserve the food myself. So
I love that. And so, who do you wind up selling your meats to? Is it your social media following, or do you guys ever do farmers markets? Like,
no, if you do a farmer's market, you have to be USDA in meat.
They come check.
Okay. So we don't do farmers market. We can only sell within Idaho State under cottage law. Okay. So we follow everything under the cottage law. So we have people that reach out to us, and then they purchase our chickens directly from us.
Which we're very fortunate. The cottage law is very favorable. How do you say it? In Idaho.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to utilize the cottage laws here, where other states are very tough and they're very strict.
Yeah. So we can't ship, I can't ship out of state, so I just utilize where we are, and there's abundance of people that are looking for what we offer. So I really don't have a need or a want to ship my products out of state, because I rather just take care of my community.
Right.
at least for the meats, but your store stuff you ship
Florida
further,
is
right?
different because we freeze dry things, right?
Yeah.
So, all of our dog treats are all raw food, right? And so we freeze dry that. We sell all different kinds of freeze dry dog treats. We have a subscription box that we have a lot of people that purchase that through us. Then on the human side, we do a lot of fruits, freeze dry fruits. We make our own seasonings that we freeze dry and we make. It's called Sprinkle That Shit. And we have
I love that.
And it has a little chicken on it, so it's for chicken. But we have 2 more coming out that will be out this just for Christmas time, and we're putting a bundle for it'll be chicken, pork, and beef, and so we do that as well too. So that we can sell online because it doesn't need to be refrigerated, right? Because that's the thing, is it has to be refrigerated. It has to be checked by USDA. Yep.
So as you're talking, I'm getting all these questions while I'm watching the chat to see if there's any other questions. I don't know if I missed any. I always go back and I read the comments and I'm like, there's comments that I didn't see. Where were they? Does USDA mean the animal has to be juiced?
No, it
Okay.
doesn't mean that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. It does mean that when you go commercial. So when you go in commercial, there's a little bit like if you're selling at grocery store, there's other guidelines that you have to follow underneath that. So like the butcher that I use, I couldn't use him for my, let's say if I wanted to sell at the farmer's market, there's only 3 USDA facilities from where I live all the way to Oregon. And that's it. And when a butcher, it's ridiculous how this all works. For a butcher to have a USDA certified agent in their business, they have to build them out their own office, own bathroom, and they have a different salary they have to be paid. You can't even do anything until the guy tells you it is okay to do it, and then stamp of approval. So there's a lot that is involved money-wise for you to just have a stamp that says USDA. For me, I don't want that stamp because they've said Lucky Charms is more, is more healthy than beef. So, they can just stick that little sticker right up their ass for all I care. I don't need it for my product. So I do everything differently. I am straight to the consumer. And so I share how we raise our animals. We share it all publicly, and then we offer it to the people around us.
I love that. I love you guys. It's amazing how many laws and rules and the corruptness there is in the food industry. It's wild.
It's just crazy. It's just labeling is just dumb, with everything, even the juice, we all know how dumb that is, but they all make you believe it is good for you. It's good for grandma, it's good for you to be around grandma, like all the things. And it's just like food. They have been passing and they're utilizing so many chemicals. Even the dirt in our ground is so contaminated from what's being, in the spring into the clouds, right? Those aren't clouds. What are they putting up there? And so it's getting on food. And so there's so many things that people can do on their own to just take back a little bit more of their health. And if that's just buying local eggs from a farmer or just a backyard person that has chickens that has extra, right? Buy that from them. Even if they say, hey, I have extra eggs, you want it for free, give them a few bucks because it's not free to feed them. Just give them, here's a tip. Thank you. Save all your egg cartons and give them to people that have chickens. Because those are expensive.
Yeah, there's a girl that would deliver to me. I think it was like $4 or $5 for a carton. And I always gave her like a few extra bucks because she came to me. Here in Shelley. She drove to me. Now she probably lived very close by. I know she lives in Shelley, but still. I always give, if I think, the effort was there, I'm going to give extra. And like, we'll do things like that where I'll just say, keep the change, because I appreciate the effort.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And they, like just us, like just with us, we appreciate it. Sometimes we're delivering to people 2 and 3 hours away from us,
Wow.
And so we don't charge extra for that. We don't even charge a fee for that, but we have an amount of how many's going there. So then that makes it worth it. Right. And so, but everybody, a lot of them are always like, here's a little extra, here's, here's a tip. Thank you so much. But we have such great clientele. It's unbelievable. Like our waiting list is long on everything that we have. And we sell out really quickly once we put it out there on our page. So we're very, very fast.
Someone asked, do you grow your seasonings yourself and do you grow herbs?
So I do grow some, not all, but I do use as local as possible. If I don't utilize some of them that I have to put into my seasoning mix, I get it from Azure Standards and it's all organic. Yeah. But most of it I freeze dry when I can get it, my hands on it.
So I think that answered the next question, which said, do you freeze dry yourself?
Yeah.
We
We
have
have-
2 large freeze dryers. They're in our garage,
Yep,
and they run nonstop. And so,
24/7.
between what we do for ourselves, we do preserve some stuff for ourselves besides selling everything.
Yeah,
We do have the stuff that we sell, and then we have to do regular maintenance and cleaning on it, because when we put the raw food in there, we don't want to contaminate the other food. So we have to do
Yep.
a couple hour clean down through, like, a thorough cleaning, so we can put human foods back into where the
Yeah.
raw food
and we're
is.
getting ready to buy our 3rd freeze dryer because
Yeah.
our business is so busy.
Yeah.
That's another topic that I want to dive into another time with you, is raw feeding for dogs. I mean, that's a whole episode in itself. And so
Yep.
we're getting kind of to the end, and I want to know everything you guys offer. Let's put it out there. And yeah, everything that's in your store, courses, all of it.
Well, you can check out our store at littleroguefarm.com. That takes you directly to our farm store. Well, it's just our store. You can't buy any of our our meats on there. That's directly through us. But on there, you'll find all of our dog treats on there, which also has a subscription box. I also sell homeopathic on there for parvo, distemper, heartworm, rabies, and kennel cough. So I do make a homeopath for each of those. You can buy it individually, or you can get it as a kit. And then we have like our seasonings and some of our fruits on there as well. Plus we have merch on there. So that's what basically you're going to find. I think that's about what we have on our store.
Yep. No, exactly. And so you have a link that you're going to share with them, and then we have a discount for your listeners.
Yep. So you'll have a code, and I think it's 10% off.
Yes.
Yeah, 10% off, which we'll post up so that you guys can, I'll give it to Regina, so you guys will have that.
That's awesome. Thanks,
And
guys.
so you'll get a discount there. We also teach people how to make raw food for their dogs, and you can find that right now you can find it at primalpuppy.com. It is a paid course and group. It's being revamped at this time. So come November 1st, it'll be a whole new system. But if you're in it already, you get everything already for that. And you get course, not just raw feeding, it's natural living with your dog. So we come in there and we teach constantly all kinds of new ways to take care of your dog. It's not cats or any other animals. It's just dogs. And
she wants to say hi.
Hello.
Love it.
She jumped up again. That's Sage.
So we have that. And then our third thing that we do is we have what's called Home Life Armor. We have a group where we help people in our 4 pillars of life of how to take care of grow in their production and relationship and health and wellness and physical, right? So that all of that ties together on how to get your house really in order.
Is that something you created, or do you do that through another company?
We created it.
Love that. Wow.
I'm gonna turn the light on. It's starting to get dark here now.
I love that.
So we do have it's a membership group there that we teach on the daily. And so there's that. And then the last thing I do, which you and I partnered up, is I help people bring a home tower into their home, or I help others start that business so that they can help their followers and their friends on learning how to bring a tower into their home to grow, quality food that's not contaminated.
There's a question in there. And then, is there any way you guys can give us a peek of your tower? How is it doing right now? Do you have some good plans?
It's down in our garage right now because we're moving it up here into a bedroom, but we're getting it all prepared for that. It's going really great. I have eggplant on it and a whole bunch of different peppers.
Yeah, the peppers are good.
I just moved out my cucumbers because we're really just going to start growing a lot of greens through the winter time. Just because I was able to preserve a lot of food for, other things, but I have bush tomatoes coming in. I have lots of herbs. I have lots of microgreens. I'm trying to think of all the things that I have on there.
The beet microgreens are so good.
Yeah, the beet microgreens are good.
I just planted all my seeds.
broccoli.
Mhm.
I have broccoli too. I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
nervous.
Don't be nervous. It's all,
I
it's just
just,
it's like gardening. You just have to kind of learn, but it's easier than outside gardening. That's how I look at it.
well,
Because
okay.
yeah,
Can I mess it up
gardening,
is
you
the
have to
question. Can I mess it up?
anything you can mess up, right? I think
Yeah.
we can mess up anything if we, but it's with outside gardening, you have to companion garden because of the soil and the nutrients. With the tower garden, you do not have to companion garden because it's aeroponic, right? So the water comes and the nutrients and it comes from the top. Well, the bottom, it's pumped to the top. It drips down over each of the roots of the plant. So it's getting the proper nutrition that it needs. And so that's why it grows such abundantly. And so once yours start going, you're just going to be like, holy shit, how did I do this? This is amazing, right? And you're just going to want more. That's just what happens. It's like chicken.
I already want more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
And it's,
excited.
yeah. And so it's super, super easy. It's almost a set it and forget it, but you still have to kind of like love on it and take care of it. But for the most part, it's nothing like outside. You don't have to worry about having to water anything. That's the part that we typically forget to do. Yep.
I'm excited. Couple questions in here. I think you kind of answered this, but maybe he missed it. You guys don't do your own butchering, right? Or what the chickens you do,
Just the
but
chickens.
you're
The chickens, but
just
my
the
pigs,
chickens.
no, we take our pigs in. We don't have a space to hang them or, to let them dry out or chill, or we don't have a walk-in freezer or cooler, right? So we have a butcher that we utilize, and he's just an amazing patriot that we just love to death. He has become a really great friend of ours. And so he takes very good care of us and our customers. So yeah, we're very fortunate because butchers are hard. They're hard to find really good ones and ones that don't, steal your meat. And so, which is
Right.
a real thing. And so, yeah.
And also ones that do it in a humane way. I've heard, is this true that most butchers just are not really humane about it? Is that true?
Well,
Or?
I don't know. Humane means something different than to everybody.
That's true. Yeah.
And so I will tell you, when we go and we take our pigs, there's no humane way to kill an animal besides right between the eyes, okay, and down.
Right.
You just have to do it. And ours gets killed right in our trailer, like right in our trailer and right in front of the others. If you try to hold back animals if you create that energy to do that, all of them start freaking out. Like, so you got to remember, animals feed on energy. So if you keep everything calm and they're just eating and they think pigs will just eat because that's what they do. And we just have some feed down and they're just eating and then they're shot, right? And they go down. The other ones won't even flinch because they're eating, right? And so you want your animal relaxed. You don't want them tensed up. That's when meat starts getting contaminated. That's when you can feel it or taste it when you eat it. You're like, something's wrong. It's probably because they stressed out the animal when they were killing it. Like even with our chickens, we bring them, our free range chickens just roam around. They want to eat. They're scavengers. They're like crows. Okay.
Land crabs.
Yeah. They want pieces of it, and I throw stuff down for them and they're happy little campers. And the ones that we call, they don't, it's so quick. We have cones for them. We're not wringing necks. We're not chopping heads off and they're running around until they flap around and die. That's how they typically would do it. We have cones, we put them in, that there is a slice that happens, and then we just hold it and let them bleed out. And it goes really quickly. And then we just have a process that we do. At first, I don't do any of the culling because I can't, like literally, I can't say I can't. I just don't want to, I have Corey do it, but I gut every single one. That is my job. I'm opening them up and pulling out everything and cleaning all.
I don't know if I could do that.
It's not as bad as what people think, but I don't have a problem touching raw meat either or raw things. So that doesn't bother me. Yeah, the first day the smell is all embedded in your nose. It's gross, right? And then the next day when you're doing it, you don't smell it anymore. I have essential oils going, but guts are guts. They still smell.
Still stink.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to hang out for a few, if that's okay, in the Facebook group, but I'm going to end the recording here in a second. What do you want to leave us with? And then let's get all your contact info so that everyone that watches this afterwards, whether it's on YouTube, Rumble, or wherever, if they want to reach you, let's get your contact info.
So I want to leave with, if you want to take a chance on doing homesteading or farming, do it. Even if it's like, sounds crazy, seems crazy, the rates are crazy to get into a house or land, it's worth it. It's really worth taking the chance and seeing if it's something you like or not. Because even if you get on 5-10 acres, you do nothing with it, you do nothing with it. You got a lot of land, which is kind of cool too. But really, give yourself a shot at it. Even if it's a micro farm where you're like 1-2 acres.
Even a half acre, you can do a lot of damage with a half acre,
let alone 1 acre. But if it's something that's pulling your heartstrings, just do it. Because the one thing, it's the Gary V effect. You don't want to have regret of thinking, what if? Just go take a chance on it. Well, you mean, we've done dumber shit, right? I know. So
yeah.
That's the thing, is that so many people wait on the sidelines and go, man, I wish I would have tried that or did that. Well, why are you waiting or wishing? Just fucking do it.
Yep.
Yeah. And what a time right now, especially a time for sovereignty and to bring some independence to your family.
Yeah. I do life with entertainment. I do life with just being real. I do life the way that I want. And I'm all about getting my house in order. And for me, it's not just my family. It's not just my faith. It's not just everything else. I really deeply inside know that I have to make fuck you money to make sure that I can take care of my family, because the government does not have your back. And if someone gets sick, Western medicine is just not the place that you got to go, and they're not going to save you. They're just going to make you into a guinea pig, and they're going to profit off of you and give you all the bad things, right? And so my view is so different on things. I'm not stuck about what's happening in the world. I'm looking at and pivoting of what I need to be doing to make myself stronger, to make our lives better, to make our home feel safe. And that's what I leave you with, is just do what makes sense to you, not what makes sense to other people.
Correct.
Love it. I love you guys. I love everything that you're about. I'm so thankful to be connected to you. Thankful that you said yes to come on my little podcast. That's just a baby right now.
Hey, it's awesome. It's awesome.
How can people reach you, and what's your store? I'm going to put all this in the Facebook chat, but just so we have it up on other platforms like YouTube and everything.
It's Lorina Gardner or Little Rogue Farm. If you just Google Little Rogue Farm, I'll probably show up on a lot of different platforms, just because I do have a pretty good following on both platforms. The two platforms I use is just basically Facebook and Instagram. I do periodically go on to TikTok, but I'll never check anything over there because I just am not there very often. But those are my two platforms that I am on. And that's where you can find me all the time.
I'm same, but not different name, obviously. Corey B. Gardner on Facebook, and life.with.corey on Instagram.
Yeah.
So you can find me there as well. I don't have the following she does, but I do put out just as much content, and eventually I'll take off, but it's okay.
It doesn't matter. We're consistent.
Yep.
So
we do share different content. So that's a cool part. If you follow both of us, you'll notice that we will have different stuff for every day too.
Yeah.
So,
you guys are consistent.
Yeah. If you're offended by language, you might not want to follow me because I am the F-bomb on everything, and that's just who I am. And so I just forewarn you that I talk my truth. I say what I want. I don't really care. And I love haters. I think they're fun to play around with. And I get a lot of them, and it's okay too. But I love to entertain. I love to entertain and throw rocks at topics that are controversial. So that's
I love it. And that's what drew me to you when you were posting stuff about juice in April, and right, April's Autism Month, and I was just like, oh, that's my girl. That's my girl right there. And is there a website for the store or
Just littleroguefarm.com.
littleroguefarm.com, and they can use the coupon code for the viewers. I think it's SOV AF10, SOV AF10. Is that it, Corey?
That's it.
You'd have to ask
And
him, my back
I'll
end
put
person.
that in the Facebook chat, and then I'm going to put it up on YouTube and everywhere else. So we've got all the contact info where people can reach you, website, social media. They've got a coupon code for 10% off. Definitely follow these two. I can't even tell you. I love your videos so much. I'll be like, babe, you got to see this video.
Oh, the
Because
reels we do.
it's just like the content you can put out there when you don't care what people think. It's just so freeing to just be you, and just, you guys are hilarious. So,
Well, our journey has brought us to where we are today, and I just stand in what God has provided for me, and that's all that matters to me, is that I'm just doing what he's telling me to do, and I'm cool with it all.
I love it. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to hang out for a few extra minutes if there's any last minute questions in the Facebook chat. Thank you, all the viewers, both live and later on. Thank you for supporting this podcast, and thank you for being here.